Welcome, everyone, to the Phat Games podcast. With us this episode is a friend of mine, someone from the New York game development scene, and one of the Gumbos as well. We've got Andrew Garrahan with us. Andrew, say hi.
Hi, how's it going, Blair? It's
Pretty good.
great to be on the Phat Games podcast.
Yeah, thanks for doing this. You are probably going to be the person who's had the most success from the community that we've had on. So it's exciting.
Okay, wow.
I don't know if that makes you nervous or not. All right, so you and I have known each other for 5-ish or so years. We first met through playcrafting, and we went to a number of events. We're at a lot of the same events a lot of times over the years. So tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into this racket?
Right, yeah. I feel like I've known you for longer than 5 years. Yeah, we met at playcrafting, which used to be the New York Gaming Meetup here in New York City. And it was originally it was like a meetup group, and it was just video game developers all over New York City that would come, and they could show off their games to other game developers. And it was kind of a hub to just meet other people making games. This was, I think, a time before like Unity and Unreal. Unreal was around, but Unity had not really hit it big. So there were more like Flash game companies and a few other minor engines, but a lot of the people that were showing probably like 7-8 years ago were just using other tools. So it was a much different scene. So now, like if you're getting into the game development scene, just like being able to learn with Unity and watch YouTube videos, and it's a totally different scene. So it really has changed a lot. And this is like before Indie Game the movie, I would say, because
really that's like before 2012, then, right? Because that's pretty old now.
Yeah, I feel like because Indie Game the movie, was it 2012 or 2014?
I think the sequel was 2014. No, that might have been later. That might have been like because that was after I moved back to New York.
Yeah, so it was like kind of around that time. So I'd say it's a much different gaming scene now than it was 8 years ago, in the sense that now there's so many more game developers, and that's great. And it's never been easier to self-publish your game. So even like 6 years ago, there was like it was hard to get your game on Steam. So you had to like do like
the green light.
Yeah, even before green light, like you just couldn't publish on Steam. Now you just pay $100 something, and you can at least put your game up there. So and itch.io was not a thing. So the world has become a lot more accessible to developers. And so self-publishing is a lot easier across all platforms.
So how did you get into it?
So for me, I am, when I went to college, I studied graphic design. And I think when I was in school, like Flash was really big. Like I don't know if you guys remember, like Macromedia Flash, Adobe
Yep.
Flash. It was just officially discontinued a few months ago. But Flash was this wonderful software where you could make little vector animations and kind of build these little interactive graphic design pieces. People would make animations on this website called Newgrounds, but you could also make games because there was a programming language called ActionScript in there. And for me, I was studying graphic design and Photoshop, and I thought Photoshop was just the most amazing thing. You could draw pictures and do like graphic design. But then I learned a little bit of web design, like HTML. And then I discovered this Flash thing. And I think I had someone who wanted me to build an MP3 player on their website. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I heard you can do it in Flash. So I went to like some Flash website, and you could download people's projects, and you could like open them up and see how they were built. So you could, even if you didn't know the code, you could still kind of unpack this MP3 player and see how the buttons were made, kind of see a little bit of code on a play button or a pause button. It kind
It's
of
like a lot of self-taught.
Yeah, you could kind of almost like taking apart a little like a kit or something and kind of reverse engineering, almost like hacking it or cracking the software, but you're looking at someone else's example and just clicking around, like learning it. And for me, it was a lot of fun because Flash allowed for basic animation, and then that animation then led to like a little bit of programming knowledge, and that eventually was like at a certain point I was like, whoa, you can actually make some very simple games, starting with just like a button, clicking a button or a coin, and then a score going up. That's kind of the beginning. But this was very rudimentary, and so I did that for many years, doing like web design in Flash. So if you were Flash websites were like this thing that you could be kind of creative, and web design studios would pay like extra for Flash designers at that point. So it was a good place to be like a freelance Flash artist or programmer. And it also required kind of this interesting blend of design and programming that was a little more rare. So it was a fun place for a lot of creatives to do stuff. The big thing at the time was like you would make your Flash portfolio. Like there were all these websites where they would have Flash portfolio awards. They had one called like Flash of the Week, but every week they'd have like the best like Flash portfolio website, and they'd be very intricate with all these unique designs and custom illustration and just so thoughtful. But they weren't games; they were just graphic design. They're almost like complicated portfolios that would have like things unfold and like do all these wonderful animations. So a lot of the people from that community, most of them probably turned into graphic designers or more like programmers, but a few of those people got into video games, and that's when you saw the explosion of places like Congregate and Newgrounds, where a lot of people started making games. So I was really into that, and I was I'm from like Maryland, which is near Washington D.C., but in my school, I was one of the best Flash programmers in my school.
Very nice.
Yes, it was. I even had a club called Flash Friends, which was we made a user group because I was like obsessed with Flash. Like I would check out all the books in the school library. So like while I was there for 2 years, I had like the whole time I had like all the Flash books. There was only 5 of them, but they were just in my parents' house because I would read them all. And but we started a user group. Then we would do like Flash tutorials with people at school, and it was just a lot of fun. And actually the user groups were a lot like the playcrafting group, because we would meet up like once a month to meet other people that did Flash programming. And like, because when you do game development or you do any like very specific like art form, you kind of don't have any friends that do it. Like you don't know anyone, like you're really into this thing, and like most likely your friends from college or like are not going to care at all.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
So I think like, and you get into it, so you're like, oh, I really care about this. So seeking out a community where other people just even understand what you're doing is really important, I think, for your artistic growth, just to have a friend that that understands.
And that's one of the great things about playcrafting and Gumbo is you have a lot of those people around all the time.
Yeah. So these communities, but I got really into Flash, and then I moved up to New York City, and Flash was like, this was the days of like Farmville games, like Facebook games were getting really big. And there was a website called I'mInLikeWithYou.com or OMG Pop.
Yeah, I know both of those.
So they were like a New York City company, and they got some like venture capital to make I think originally they were pitching an online dating site that had games. And then the games were so popular, they had like a Tetris clone and like a Bomberman clone. But those games were so popular that the site became just about that. And the cool thing about OMG Pop was they were multiplayer Flash games. So the creators of the website, they were really obsessed with like Super Nintendo games. That was like the games that they liked the most. So like your Super Mario World, your Super Mario Kart, and then like Star Fox, like, but the specifically like Kirby's Dreams Course and stuff, like all these like
all these clones.
Yeah, all these deep cut like Super Nintendo games, and they tried to rebuild kind of the joy of like Super Nintendo, the vibe, but on a website that was a multiplayer. So all the games that you played them with like 4 to 6 other people. And I got to basically they were looking for Flash developers, and they had like an open call for people to build prototypes. And I was in between freelance gigs, so I spent like 2 weeks building like this. I spent like 80 hours making a prototype for Pac-Man, a multiplayer Pac-Man. And it had like all the basic rules of Pac-Man, but it was just squares going in a maze. And I showed them the prototype, and they were like, "Oh my god! Like you did this insane!" Like, because no one else had done that much work, and I wasn't getting paid or anything. So I was just like, "Okay, this is cool," and I'm not doing anything. So I built this huge prototype, and then I showed it to them, and they were kind of blown away. So they were like, "This is cool." and we need games on our platform. So they were like, do you want to complete the game? And so they were like, we'll pay you to build the whole game. So I was like, hell yeah. Like, I want to build the whole game. So for me, it was like, that was
your
like
first paid gig?
Yeah, it was like it was almost like getting a book deal. Cause like I pitched them the prototype, and then they were like, yeah, we'll give you a chunk of money to finish it. And I had a deadline. It was like six weeks I had to finish the thing. And it was awesome. They gave me a lot of freedom because I got to do the Pac-Man style game, and they hooked me up with a graphic designer, and then I would show them my work occasionally, but they were pretty cool with how it worked. So that was like my first real gaming gig. And then I did another game with them called Phat Penguin, which was a miniature golf game that you like drag penguins, and they fly into a hole. It's like miniature golf, except everyone's a penguin, and then everyone also shoots at the same time. So no one takes turns. They're just all like trying to get into the hole as fast as possible. But we had lots of puzzle elements like bumpers, and the penguins will like bounce off things, and they're just like snowball machines shooting the penguins. This is all 2D, like a top-down design.
There's been a lot of mobile style, or not just mobile, but like all sorts of like weird golf games that are top-down mixed with RPG elements and stuff over the years since then. So it's a popular genre.
Totally. And I brought up Super Kirby's Dream Course earlier.
Yeah, which is also golfish.
And that was like the game. They were like, we want it to be golf, but we want these powers, and it's like a more fun, creative golf. So the brief was really nice, and they gave me a lot of freedom. And then afterwards, I was making a lot of music, like techno music, in this program called Fruity Loops, and I really wanted to be like a rock star or something. But so I was also making a lot of music. But then I was like, okay, this game's the biggest thing I have right now. So I tried to make a music video about the game. So I made the music, and then I made a whole music video, trying to capitalize on the game's success. But and the music video, I'll share it with you later. But it did fine, but it didn't launch my my music career.
We could put it at the end of the YouTube version of the podcast. I mean, if you want to,
it's great.
Sure.
it's a good one.
Sounds good.
But then yeah, so they I don't know, but then they didn't need any more games, and I got really depressed because I wanted to make more games with them. But then eventually they hired me back to do Mario Kart style courses. So I had to design like all these like the tracks for like an F-Zero style game and a Mario Kart game. So I had to like design everything. So I'm a programmer, but I can also do a lot of level design if I have to.
So you got a lot of art. You're sort of a generalist a little bit there then when it comes to.
Yeah, like awesome. if you were chained to a computer for a month, Blair, would you prefer to do level design or programming?
Programming. And I'm doing all the environment design for Kids of Karendow. So I mean, I'm doing most of the game aside from music and most of the art now. But before recently, I was still doing most of the art. But you've done a lot of other games too. There's Wedding Run, there's Sidewalker, Mumahawk, Bunny Love, and Swing Star, and that's not an exhaustive list. So, well, let's talk about Wedding Run first, because there's a bit of a nuptial story around that one, isn't there?
Yes. So, my wife, who we've been together for 10 years, we've been married for 3.
Congratulations.
I think it's 3. It might be 5. I'm not sure. She's an illustrator, and she was really in the kind of art illustration community here. And it's a little like the playcrafting world, where you have like this artist community. They're all bonded by like drawing and illustration, and they get together and draw. And they even put out a book called like Drawing Once a Day, like drawing by I think 1482 is the name of the publisher. But the book was all about like you got to go out and draw like once a day. So it's like one of these kind of like self-help, motivate yourself to like stay focused on drawing. But when we started getting together, we really wanted to do some collaboration because I do like to spend a lot of time working on my projects, and if I'm gonna go on dates and stuff, I also want to like, how do I get this like relationship thing to also be like part of what I'm working on.
I tried that with Gerald. It hasn't worked so well yet.
It's tough. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure if it's always right. But
You're not the only people in the community who've done stuff together. So, like in terms of husband and wife duo.
what's a good one? Any off the top of your head?
Oh, like Brian and GJ.
Oh, Brian and GJ. Yeah, totally. Yeah. But they're a great couple, and they really strengthen each other. Yeah.
And David Marquardt and his wife work together as well too.
No way.
So,
okay.
Yeah, they do.
Crazy. Yeah. The tongue. Where's my tongue?
Yeah, pull my tongue.
Pull my
and
tongue.
Dean Razavi and his partner Matt, or his husband Matt, I wouldn't call them exactly game development partners, but when he was developing Vidar, he was using RPG Maker, which didn't natively support Mac, so he had Matt write a lot of Mac libraries to sort of that he didn't really know what the code needed to do, so he just had Matt make it up, kind of, and that's why the Mac build of Vidar is very unstable, because they were guessing what those functions needed to return.
That's a tough one, yeah. Getting the Game Maker Mac support, challenging. Yeah, I think, it's good if you can find. I mean, maybe it's not like your significant other love interest. It might just be a really good friend. But it is great if you can find someone you can really work with. Sometimes it's even another company, like even just working for somebody else is in a way a collaboration. So
I guess it depends on the company and the work, though. If you don't like it, then
Sure, totally, yeah. But with the game, like I was talking about the contract work I got to do with OMG Pop, which is I was very lucky to get that gig, but that for me, that was kind of the collaboration I needed at that point. I don't think I was ready to do it on my own. It does take a lot of like I guess I want to use the word discipline to really just to like come back to the work every day.
I mean, it does take a lot of discipline. I mean, if that's a bad word, it is what it is, but you got to have that if you want to actually get anything done.
Yeah, I wonder why. So I'm trying to think why do we even make games? I don't know if that's is that a question we want to ask, or like?
Well, yeah, why not? Why do we even make games? I mean, we've asked a version of that question to everyone on the podcast, I think. Why are we even doing this?
You want to go first on that one, Blair?
Sure. Yeah. So I've asked the question before. It's my artistic escape. It gives me an outlet to be creative in, especially when I've got a day job that's I think it's fair to say it's pretty dry. Mm-hmm. It's less technical now than it's ever been before. I'm more doing strategy stuff, which is it's fine. It's just not creative at all, or at least not creative in the way it's not creative in a way that I need to have creativity in my life. And yeah, it's I just love doing it, and I've been doing it since I was 8 years old, and I think I will do it for as long as I possibly can until I die. How about you?
What part you said like what like nugget of the creativity is like the most important part? Like
storytelling, a way for me to tell stories through whichever medium necessary. Like, you remember Burgle's Bounty? I had those little cutscenes in them, which are all
cutscenes.
Yeah, that was fun for me. And it's a way that I can express my sense of humor too, because I have a very dry sense of humor. Mm-hmm. And if I'm telling a joke to a person face to face, they will often think I'm serious. But when I animate it in a video game, I'm able to convey that part of my personality in a way that people actually laugh.
So self-expression, like someone really kind of knowing who you are at a deep level in a way.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Never thought of it that way.
Yeah. The unique Blair.
The unique Blair, yeah. So what about the unique Andrew?
The unique Andrew. So for me, I do like self-expression is so awesome. I like the idea of like the blank canvas. It's like, what are you gonna make with it? And that's the funnest thing about like meeting all these indie game developers. It's like they're all trying to do the same thing, which is like we're all trying to make a game, which is kind of a technical marvel. It's got all these pieces, and then we want other people to play it. So we do want some sort of like success in terms of views. We want people to view our idea.
Yeah.
And then there is like, we do want financial stuff, but I think more we want people to see it and to be known. But then the cool thing is like, so that's our goal, but then the way we attack the goal is like completely different. Because like somebody might be doing a puzzle game, someone might be doing like a driving game, or like something more artistic that's very like almost like a dancing kind of thing. And then you can be so creative in your problem solving, and it really tells a lot about like that person, like what genre did they choose, like what's their graphic style, like how do they collaborate with other people, like what do you decide to do on your game versus like what do you collaborate on, like are you okay with somebody else doing the music, or are you okay with somebody else doing some coding? I think that like what you decide to prioritize on. So for me, I really like exploring lots of different genres. So I think it's fun to like try different. I think it's great you're doing an RPG game because like you've done puzzle. So now it's like I like the idea of trying something new. I feel like is really healthy for growing. And
this is Kids of Karendow. Is after I finished Burgle's Bounty, I had a conversation with Gary and I said, if there's a game, if we make one more game for the rest of our lives, we know what that game is going to be. So let's just go ahead and do it, and just like do it. And then that way we know we can die happy if we die tomorrow or whatever.
I think it's true. Like if you're gonna die, like if you're straight up gonna die tomorrow, like at least you finish this painting. You're like, hey, I did my painting, so at least I painted it, and you want it to last a little while. So I think there is like, you do want the thing to last, or you want to be able to play it and stuff. So right now, my goal is trying to make games that are like a lot of people play them and that they are memorable. But they also have kind of a nugget of what I might deem as creative, which might be like with the game we're doing now, Self to Singularity. It's really like a science documentary. I'm really into like science, like YouTube documentaries. And
I was definitely wanting to get into that. So let's just go into that now. So Self to Singularity is it fair to say it is your most successful game?
Yeah, by a long shot.
By a long shot.
Yeah.
I remember I played it when you were still prototyping it. It's still very early in development, but I did play it again in preparation for this podcast.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And number one, I'll say I can see why. Well, first of all, it's very addictive, so I can see why it's so popular. I didn't get super far. I was still in the primordial ooze, but I know there's tons more content in there. I know you're working on a big space expansion. So let's get into that, because I can see why it's so popular. But how did it get so popular? Because indies tend to suck at marketing.
This game is really popular. So like as Blair mentioned, so this is it's primarily really big on the Android store. I think so. We passed 10 million downloads, and
wow.
We on Steam, I think we have maybe like it's a free game also, folks. So it's a free game, and on Steam, I think we have 500,000 downloads and a pretty good rating. Our rating is at least blue. I think it's like 85.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, not too bad. But so the game is about this is a clicker game. So think cookie clickers, except it's all about it follows the evolution of life on Earth. So you start off as like a simple cell, and you're clicking and you're unlocking evolutionary traits. And then you're evolving from a cell to like a jellyfish.
Well, in the very beginning, it's like you're setting up proteins. Even it seemed like
it's almost like science textbook. Like it's kind of dry, but it's also kind of interesting.
It's educational.
It's got like all the details. So for when I came up with the concept, so I was pretty depressed for like a year, and like all I was like I was doing like a freelance gigs here and there, but I was doing like I was just laying in bed, like all I wanted to do was like lay in bed like all day long. And then what do you do when you're in bed? Just watching like YouTube videos. And like even though I'm depressed, I'm like I'm having a good time watching YouTube videos because it's, but yeah, I'm just watching all this stuff on like like what's the meaning of life and like where does life come from, and I really love like documentary content from like there's a lot of great 70s documentaries. Like BBC put out things like The Ascent of Man or Civilization. There's one called Connections, which was a big influence. This is James Burke's Connections, which is all about connecting technologies, like how like electricity is connected to the telephone, and the telephone connects to like radar, and like talking about how ideas actually turn into more ideas instead of looking at history in like a linear timeline. It's more like actually like ideas are kind of connected.
But they're iterative.
Yeah, they're very iterative, and like one is kind of necessary for the other one. So I was watching a lot of those. Cosmos is another one, and then I was also playing like clicker games. Like for some reason, I got into that genre. Like a lot of people have probably played Cookie Clickers, which is the kind of the seminal clicker game. And then there was another one on Congregate at the time called Adventure Capitalist. And Adventure Capitalist had it introduced some new mechanics. They had like these progress bars that were filling up, and it was just, I don't know, I just got really into it, and it just helped. I mean, like I said, I was a little depressed, so it just, by just playing that, I just liked playing it, and I really understood the addictive qualities of it. It was fun. I feel like for you to make a game, you really have to get inside of it and enjoy it. And you're not always lucky enough to love a genre, but this genre I really, really did enjoy quite a bit.
That's awesome. So yeah. Is it all right if I ask you a little bit about like what got you into that funk? Because I mean, that's a challenge of part of making games. I think if you don't talk about it, we don't have to.
I think I was just generally like, I mean, I had a freelance gig that kind of went sour, and then it was like a really tough project that I kind of felt like a failure at the end of it. Like I guess feeling incompetent is kind of something that I deal with sometime, and this project, it didn't go very well, and I think I got kind of like bruised. Sometimes you're in an emotional situation where you kind of feel like you don't notice it during the time, but afterwards you're like, wow, I got really kind of beat up, and I didn't want to freelance anymore. So I kind of was like avoiding kind of jumping back into that, like the New York freelance world, but I also had like a teaching gig that allowed me to kind of keep me afloat. So I was kind of scraping by for the most part. But it just I did a few so I did some other creative projects with the free time that I had. So I made some games in that time.
So was that Mumahawk and SwingStar?
That was Sidewalker. So Sidewalker was a mobile game, and we made a 3D engine for that one. So I really wanted to. I'd always done 2D graphics with Flash, and I knew a lot about 2D and how that worked. And 3D was this like mysterious, like it's like, how does 3D work? It's like, how do polygons work? And I didn't want to do Unity. I wanted to learn, like, I wanted to make my own 3D graphics. So I spent like a year. Maybe that's also why I was so depressed, because learning 3D graphics is very hard.
Yeah. I still don't know how to do anything in 3D, and I don't have an interest in it, to be honest.
Yeah, it just took forever just to get a stupid polygon, like a triangle to show up on the screen. Took forever, and but it was very rewarding.
I did code on OpenGL. I mean, but only 2D games, like using 3D.
Yeah, so this was OpenGL with I don't know, like I guess C++ like engine or something, but it was just fun. It was like, okay, I really want to do 3D engine, so that was what.
Sweet.
Yeah, but I would not recommend other people making that. It's not really a good idea.
Not fast.
Yeah,
not fast at all.
It is a good exercise, but I don't know if it's always right for someone's like creative journey.
It's good to know, sort of, I think, from a technical standpoint, how some of this stuff works, because it also sort of helps you when you want to like do crazy graphical effects, especially because it tends to become a little more math heavy.
Yeah.
So that stuff is, I mean, it's harder, definitely, but it's definitely useful.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Like I wanted to know, like I wanted to understand how it worked, because it was just a mystery to me. So it did take about a year and a half to like make a very simple engine, and we made 2 games in it, and then eventually I switched to Unity because I was teaching a class and they wanted Unity, so I learned how to do that. And
Unity definitely makes a lot of stuff way easier.
Yeah, at first I was really I didn't want to use it because I had my own engine, and I was like, no, I already have my engine. But once I started using it, and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool, and like I don't have to do all this extra work.
Yeah,
I can just I can focus more on being creative on the game side instead of creative on like a hardcore engineering side, which it's like
takes a lot of energy and a lot of time.
Yeah, and like it doesn't matter. Like the player might not care. So.
Oh yeah, the player doesn't care at all. I don't care the tools built in, but I've noticed
artisanal games. Their own game engine.
But you can notice like it's not always. It depends, I think, on the budget of the game. But you can generally tell when a game was made in Unity or when a game was made in RPG Maker. If they haven't spent a lot of time and use a lot of sort of out of the box features of those engines, it shows.
You know what Mario Odyssey was made in?
I don't. I actually haven't played Mario Odyssey.
Unreal.
I maybe I did know that. Maybe I did hear that somewhere. But
Nintendo finally. I think Breath of the Wild is.
Breath of the Wild was a custom engine.
That's custom. Yeah, I think that one's custom. But the Mario, for Odyssey, they did switch over. So
I haven't played a Mario game in a long time.
Yeah, I played a little bit of Odyssey, but it's interesting to see Nintendo experimenting with the off-the-shelf engines because they originally pioneered the 3D stuff.
So let's go back in time a little bit because the 3D conversation kind of brings up Swing Star, which was also your first, I think, only VR game.
Yeah.
So VR is complicated because it's so easy to for people to get pulled out of that environment or make people feel incredibly ill if you don't do it right. So that must have been its own level of challenge in itself.
Yeah. Yeah, me and so we got into VR. Well, so when Oculus announced their DK1, their development kit 1, I remember buying one like right away. They were like $300, and I think I had like a PlayStation 3 or something. But even though $300 was kind of like, it's still a chunk of money, I was just like, oh, this is totally, I want to try this. Like this, they're promising VR, so I got to try this, and I could use Unity. So I knew Unity, so I'm like, wait a minute. I can have the VR helmet, and I can just immediately like put 3D stuff in it, and I can experiment with it. So it felt very like accessible, and it was like I knew I could play with this right away. So I bought one of those, and then one of my best friends, this guy John O'Meara, was also like obsessed with VR. He's like he ordered one of these, like they're called like Omnis, where it's like one of these walking pads where you got to wear socks and you can like walk around the world. But he like ordered it on a Kickstarter, and then it didn't come for like 3 years.
Oh, wow.
And then he doesn't even have room for it. So he's got this Omni somewhere. But
he needs to move it to a bigger place.
Yeah. So he but him and me were like kind of into VR. So we did a couple demos at Playcrafting, like workshops on how to get set up with Unity. And we just kind of became the first people doing some demos with that. And then that turned into a full VR class. And we were teaching the class, but we actually hadn't released a project. So me and my friend John O'Meara, we were like, okay, let's do something. So we started prototyping some ideas. We actually were meeting up at Baby Castles. Baby Castles is like an art gallery game space here in New York. And they had these co-working spaces on Monday night. So we would go on Monday, like hang out with a bunch of other developers, work on our prototypes. And we came up with a few prototypes. And then my prototype, which was this, it was a third person character that would swing. You would swing on stuff and then grab onto something else and swing on another thing.
Yeah, kind of like a grappling game. It's actually kind of like the grappling hook from Zelda games, really.
A little bit, yeah. And you would use your momentum and go through space. And now swinging usually is not recommended for VR games. However,
making people a little sick.
Yeah. So, however, if you use a third person, so if it's in first person, it can be not great. But if you actually have an avatar in front of your head, that you're looking at, that can reduce all the motion sickness.
Oh, okay.
So that actually managed to reduce most of the motion sickness. But we worked on that one for about 9 months, and it's like a level-based puzzle platformer. And we released that on the Gear VR, which is a mobile VR headset, and then we also released on Oculus and Vive with Steam. So that was our first Steam game. We did that about 6 years ago, I think.
Yeah, I think I first played it at Magfest back in 2016, I guess that was. That's a long time ago.
It sure was, yeah.
Yeah. So after that, I'm going to go back to mobile now. You had Mumahawk.
Yeah.
And Mumahawk was in development in parallel with Burgle's Bounty for at least a portion of it.
That's true. I see Gray's here. How's it going, Gray?
Hey, Gary.
Gary.
Yes, I am finally here.
Nice.
So your name is Computer Lunch?
Yeah, Computer Lunch. That's our studio. Yeah, that's I have to have my name on. I have to have Computer Lunch on all my emails because our YouTube channel uses the same name. So like it's just always the same.
Well, that's awesome. I hate to just kind of like barge in the middle of the podcast here, but I am here, so it was nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
You guys have met before. Might have been a few years
have
though.
We?
I think so, but it doesn't matter.
I might. We may have, come into contact. I might have made a bad, inappropriate comment in front of him, maybe.
That would be in line with your character, Gary.
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe it was that player, but maybe.
It would have likely been a Magfest or maybe even a
Magfest.
Playcraft event.
Yeah. So we were saying Magfest, which is this great convention. It's almost the Renaissance fair of video
and they're
games.
coming back. I don't know if you
They are
heard. They're coming back. No date yet though, but it's been confirmed.
I did hear, yeah. So Magfest, a very unique convention. They have all like the retro games, and like last year I saw the musicians from Donkey Kong Country, like David Wise was playing like music, and so a lot of my heroes of like the Super Nintendo Genesis kind of time are there. So it's a nice convention. But they have an indie game selection, and it's a great place to kind of show off an indie project they're working on. So I think, Blair, did you show Burgle's Bounty?
Burgle's was there, and in 2020, before everything shut down for the pandemic, we did the pop-up table thing and showed Karendow for the first time. But Kids of Karendow is really going to get its real, I think it's a real shakedown at Play NYC here, because we've actually got a pretty solid product, or at least I think we do. We'll see what the public says.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're going to be showing there too, I guess August 9th or something.
Yeah, are you going as part of the Gumbos, or are you doing your own thing?
I think I'm part of the Gumbos. I'm a little confused because we bought these booths like a year, 2
Yeah,
years
I mean,
before,
Sam's in coordinating that. They're for everyone. So if you gave money to Sam, you're confirmed for that. You should just probably reach out to him.
I think I did, yeah. I'm just not sure. It's been a long time. So,
But is Sam just like collecting money from you guys?
yeah, well, Sam's kind
habits,
he's taking a kickback.
He helps coordinate it. So I think I think we got like a special deal because we bought like 8 booths or something. So, but I forgot. We all like kind of pitched in, and different people had different spaces.
Yeah. Who's bringing swag?
Who's bringing swag? Like game
We
swag?
are. We're rather. I got some swag for Karendow. Not much.
What do you
I just ordered some placards today and also some T-shirts, but I'm not giving away the T-shirts. Those are for me.
we got to get some stuff. I think we have this. Sure good. Yeah, we have we're gonna announce like people get like free. Our game is free to play game, so it's like we have like coins in the game. But I think we're gonna give like $10 worth of free currency if people come. So if they come and they play the game, we'll be like, here you go. Here's like a $10 equivalent.
No, sweet.
And then the other thing is we'll give them is we have these like elite membership cards. So these are called you guys can't see this on the podcast, but this is like our elite. It says Darwinian Elite, which is the currency, but it's supposed to be like a airport lounge thing. So you can like sign your name to be like, oh, you're a member of the club. So people that come in person will be like, okay, here you go. Thanks for coming. Oh, you've played the game before. Here's like $10 worth of.
I think I actually have one of those cards. I think I got one a few years ago. You've had them for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, we had them at PAX like 2 years ago.
Yeah, let's see if I still have it somewhere.
Yeah, but so they'll get this stuff and I don't know. So.
Blair, the ultimate insult would to give people Canadian Tire money.
Oh my god!
I remember what that is.
Yeah, if they ever wanted to go up to Canada and shop at Canadian Tire, that would be great. Maybe they'll make a cryptocurrency at some point.
Yeah. So computer lunch, just in case you don't know what Canadian Tire money is,
I do not.
We have a shop in Canada called Canadian Tire, and they basically sell like car parts, but they also have kind of like a department store kind of section where they sell all sorts of stuff. Whenever you go there and you buy stuff, they'll give you kind of like points. But instead of just kind of giving you points on your membership, they give you this like fake Monopoly money kind of thing that says Canadian Tire on it.
And you could spend it there, right?
Yeah, you can spend it there. Yeah, it's like, here's 10 cents.
So you got to keep it in your wallet for like 2 years.
Yeah, it's probably really annoying.
That sounds great.
Yeah, so when you're a kid, it's fun to collect, but like as an adult, you know how worthless it is.
Your parents can give it directly to you.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a great idea. Maybe CVS should start doing that. I guess they track us. With
Make some sales money.
Yeah. Track us.
Make your own sell crypto.
Yeah, we could. I don't know. Well, so the thing is, like, the cool thing about like a free to play game is, it's basically like a Patreon in the app. So like, we don't have to make a cryptocurrency. Like we have a currency in the game. So it's like you have this. Like a free to play game is a little, or at least the way we think of our game, it's kind of like an amusement park. It's a science themed amusement park, and there's lots of different rides. There's like a ride all about dinosaurs. Like we have like something about human civilization. We got stuff about mammals where you're unlocking all these like lions and bears. And then we're working on this big space expansion. But each one of these is kind of like an amusement. If you think of an amusement park with different roller coasters, each one you can kind of visit and then play on. But then if you want to buy concessions, like you want to buy some ice cream or you want to have a little more fun, then you need these what we call Darwinian Cubes, which is the main currency. It's like and these Darwinian Cubes allow you just to go faster. Like it's kind of like a fast pass. You can play faster, or you can do more fun things in the game. So it is like, it already is a currency, so it doesn't need to be a cryptocurrency but that currency is only good. It's a little like the tire place. It's only good when you're visiting Singularity.
Nice. I have a few more questions I want to circle back to on Mama Hawk, if that's all right.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got that game featured. And it's a lot harder to do that now, but I'd like to sort of talk about what it was like a few years ago when you were able to do that, because our game was released in roughly, I think, the same week or within a week from each other. And I kind of want to see what our experiences were like, because yours got featured and Burgle's did not.
Yeah. So with that one, we worked with a kind of publisher at the time. We were working with Kurt Beeg of Simple Machine.
Okay.
And he was a huge force in polishing that game to get it to the level of quality that he thought Apple would recognize. So Apple specifically, they are looking for like a really high level of quality with the visuals and polish. So it was kind of twofold. So like one fold was like Kurt did have he had released many other games in the past, so he already had pre-existing relationships with Apple. But the other thing is that it really is like the amount of polish. So they're expecting, like, he can't, like, he can only show them things that were like of very high quality. So we spent like 6 months just polishing the game to get it to like a very very finished state. And I think with Apple, like if we hadn't worked with Kurt, I don't think it would have, because it would not have, with twofold, it wouldn't have been like, it just wouldn't have been at the level of visual quality that would deem for Apple to look at it. And then again, like we didn't have contacts with Apple at that point.
Oh, that's interesting. I actually didn't realize you worked that closely with Kurt, or maybe I did and I forgot. Kurt's kind of left the scene for a while now, hasn't he?
Yeah. I think he's well, I believe he had a child, so he's a kid now.
Yeah, he does. I believe, according to Facebook, at least.
Yeah.
All right. So how long?
I hope he's doing great. He's a really excellent designer.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
So circling back to Cells,
Mhm.
how long has that game been around for now? How long have you been polishing it, adding more content to it, etc.? It's been what, 3-4 years?
Yeah, I think it's like 3 years now. So Cell to Singularity it's a lot different. So if you're working on a game like a Steam game and you're planning to sell it like for like $10, $15, like as a premium thing, this is not the advice for you. This only is like free to play advice. So your marketing and business strategy are fundamentally different if you are doing a game that costs like a fixed amount of money or if it's free. So this game, Mama Hawk was free, and also Cell to Singularity is free.
Is it free on Steam as well?
Yes, it's free on Steam as well. Yeah.
Are you planning on doing console ports? I thought you were.
Yeah, we were trying to do it for a while, and we're actually working with Dean Rosavio a little bit on that. He was helping us out, but we ran into like a really tough spot with console development. Console development, it's harder to do free to play on consoles. Switch, for example, is not really too keen on it. I mean, you do have games like Genshin Impact that are free to play, but it's primarily not okay. Like they still want to focus on the $3, like $5 kind of market. And then so there's a lot more restrictions with consoles. So
we've just been trying to sort of rejigger the model so you can do a
we thought about it, but then we ran into some like it was really cutting into our development time for the main game. Like, and then it's really hard to release content at the same time. So let's say we have a big expansion coming out, the solar system expansion. If we release that tomorrow, like next week, like it might take us 3 more months to release it on consoles. So we can't do synchronized releases. Whereas like I can release on Steam, iOS, and like Android almost at the same time.
Thought about farming it out to another company?
They gotta wait. Like if we're done the expansion, they gotta get that and then they gotta port it, and like it's really hard. So that's why Genshin Impact again was such a big deal, because they actually managed to release on all the platforms at the same time, and it's quite an accomplishment. So that I think you can only do that if you're like super like, I don't want to say AAA, but like you're really like kind of big, big engineering, like synchronizing stuff. And also, it just didn't seem like it was going to be financially sound. Also, this is a clicker game, so it's kind of like, what are you going to click with the controller? So there was some issue. It wasn't really the best match, but we were like, let's try it. Let's give it a try. But,
yeah, actually, fun fact, Dean asked me if I wanted to be involved on some of the console ports. I politely turned him down, not because I wasn't interested in Cells, it was because I have a full-time job and kids of Karendow. It's like, no, I'm not splitting my time anymore.
Yeah, we worked on it a little bit. It was this, I think, it was really hard doing both, like running the mobile, like, because it's continuous development, so we're like adding new features, and then the port team would like have to do controller support at the same time, and like we were constantly breaking stuff that the port team would have to fix, and it was difficult to sync them both up, so I would say it's challenging. Yeah.
I can believe it.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the space expansion a couple times. So do you have a target release date for that?
Yeah.
You're willing to share? Okay.
As soon as we can. Like we've announced many dates and we missed them all. My team keeps yelling at me because they're like, we promised it would come out in summer, and like
it's better late than like have a inferior product, because they'll punish you more if you have something shitty than if you're just late.
Yeah, so we're getting close. We're actually we're we're doing open beta right now, so we have a lot. Basically, we're telling anybody who wants to try it, they can sign up for the beta and play it. So it's very like if a fan really wants to try it, like they can get in. So we're trying to get as much kind of players because it's just a free to play game. So it's like, okay, just come on in, just try it, and we're tuning it, and we need all that feedback to make the game as good. So it's a lot of right now. It's really essentially a soft launch where we have a lot of features that are actively in progress. We're having people play it. We're learning how fun it is and how long it takes people to get through it. And then we're trying to make changes week by week. Before this call, I was putting out a build for the beta testers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So may I ask, and feel free not to share, would you be willing to share your daily active users?
Sure. We have about, I think daily actives, we have probably about 200,000 players.
That seems like a lot.
It's a lot, yeah.
Okay, good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot of players. Yeah.
So after the space expansion, what's next? Is it a new game? Is it more cells? Is it?
We're gonna keep. We're probably gonna keep. Well, okay. So we have right now, like I said, we have a lot of players playing the game.
Yeah.
So
you want to keep them engaged, I assume.
I've never had a game that people really played it that much. It's hard to connect with an audience, and I think. I got to share that I've made other games in the past, and none of them really caught fire. So this is the one that it's like, hey, people are actually into it. For some reason they like it. So should I just be like, hey, that's great, and go make another game, or should I
double
keep
down
working
on
this
one?
And... So and after making so many games and knowing kind of the normal path that a lot of games has, like I'm feeling I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna kind of grit my teeth and stay on this one and see where I can take it. Really focus on doing the best that I can do for the players that we have, making sure that the players are having a good time, that we're doing the things they want us to do. So the dinosaur expansion was by popular demand. The space expansion is also because they're asking for it. So we're really trying to listen to them and build it because it's even it's all kind of random, especially with the downloads. It could stop. People could stop playing it tomorrow. So while they're there, we're definitely going to be working on it. I think, and we got lots of topics. So maybe we'll do insects at some point. So you unlock different insects, and the cool thing about insects is they're so gross when you look at them. So you can zoom in on a fucking mosquito, and then it's so disgusting.
You see all the hair, the little hair follicles over there.
So we can 3D model these insects, and people will be like, "Oh, that's so disgusting," and then they got to unlock more insects. But I think some people really like insects. So it's fun to I don't care that much about bugs, but I feel like we can do something that we're game designers, but we also really care about science. So we can do something that is kind of rare, a really fun hybrid of a lot of information and really fun gameplay, and then pretty good graphics, and do something that's kind of unique. So that's kind of what we're going to keep doing that with the game.
So it's the subtitle evolution never ends.
Yes.
Awesome.
Giant bugs in VR.
I think there's a lot of tarantula games in VR that
or just to scare the shit out of people.
There's a lot of scary stuff. Yeah.
So I mean, you've been working on this for so long. You must have hit a few different challenges. I'm guessing either technical or human-wise with developing this, because you're working with a lot of people on this. It's a big game. I'm sure we were just talking about bugs, but I bet there's a lot of bugs in the game too, as there is any game.
Yeah, it's been challenging. We've been really lucky that people like the game, so that helps with our enthusiasm, and also just it keeps it's allowed. I mean, the game is funding itself, so that if the financials aren't there, it's very difficult to make time or reasonably allocate time for it. So that's really helped. and my wife is very supportive. Like she's also a game. So we made Mama Hawk and Wedding Run together. She actually, Mama Hawk was really her game, and she did the funding for that one. And she works at another studio in the city, Dots. But she's very supportive. So it's when things do get kind of emotionally challenging, I think we're able to kind of talk through it a lot. Yeah, it's not always easy. I think, and it gets a little like after like year 2, it's not as it's less.
It's not as exciting.
It shifts into like if you think of a game like Civilization, it's like early game, mid game, late game. So I think we're entering into like the late game territory, which is great because that's where you want to be. But it's not the same rules. Like when you're in the early game, you're prototyping and you're looking for like bursts of creativity. The middle game, you're actually trying to market the thing, and now we're like trying to like we have fans that are kind of like not always happy. Sometimes they're like mad about like that we didn't release something, or they're not happy with the way we designed something.
At least they tell you.
Yeah, they do tell us, but it can so that is
All right, cool. All right, so I only have one more question, but I'm going to see if Gary's got anything else he wants to ask first.
Well, I'm going to ask the same question I ask all our guests: is what do you think your dream project would be? That say if time, money was not an issue, what would you love to work on?
Let's see. I don't know. I think it's like I'm trying to come up with what I want to do, what I want to make next. Like I don't know. I was okay. Here's so it's like I don't know if this is what I really want to make, but what about? Have you ever seen like where like somebody gets a tattoo of like the Earth on their back, and then they gotta like fill in like each country? Have you ever seen that?
I have.
I've heard about something like that. So you're saying like someone goes to each place, they tattoo the name.
So what if there's like, okay, so the beginning of the game, it's like Satan like tattoos your avatar with like the world on your back, and then you're like and then you get like the outline of all the countries, and then your job is like to like you gotta like visit all the countries, and you gotta fill in this tattoo, and then once you fill in all the countries and you go to hell or something. It's a little like there's a story called Faust, where Faust wants to know all the knowledge in the world, but once he does get all the knowledge, then he has to go to hell. So because he's like it's like a deal with the devil or something. So but while you're traveling, you could visit like famous architectural spots. Like you could go to like the Eiffel Tower, or you could go to like Frank Lloyd Wright's like house. You could go to Angkor Wat, and so you could visit these like famous archaeology things, and you could like learn about them and cross them off your list.
Would you make it kind of like Pokemon Go, where if you actually physically visit the models or the locations, you would actually like get some kind of bonus or something?
That's a good idea. Yeah. Although that's
a game. Is like now I have to go to Angkor Wat to like
part of my no GPS spoofing. GPS spoofing allowed.
Yeah, that gets a little expensive. Yeah, I think because it's the fantasy of because most people are not like I'm not going to do that. Like there's a lot of places I don't want to visit, but the fantasy of it, just like collecting knowledge and experiences, and I kind of like architecture, so I think it'd be fun to 3D model a bunch of those buildings. Maybe that might be fun.
That'd be interesting. Might be challenging too.
Do you see this as being like a VR experience where you're in like an open world?
No, I like VR, but the phones are where it's at. Like that's what everybody's got them in their pocket. That's the. I feel. Would you
ever go console?
Sure, if I could port my game to the.
Well, like, would you ever go straight console? Like, start something fresh on console?
I feel like consoles are kind of like backwards right now. Like,
you think so? Yeah, Switch is pretty awesome.
Yeah, but it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't do free to play. I think like the free to play business model is like so far like advanced compared to like more traditional models. Like it's just way more complicated, and like it's not to saying like the mechanics are all like there's a lot of problems with like mobile stuff, but it's there's so much iteration and like weird genres being created. So I think a lot of the action is kind of in the mobile space.
Interesting, because honestly, I think I can fairly say I hate the free to play model.
Yeah,
yeah. All right. Well, I'm very happy you found success in that space because I don't think I have the patience to ever try that again. But all the power to you.
I think, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Like, I mean, you have to choose the right genre. So, like, again,
Right.
I feel like with designing games, like it's like business model first, then genre, and then maybe like the theme. So, like, if your genre is not aligned with and that's why we're not doing consoles, because idle games really they're not super suited for consoles.
So when you go with that approach, does it kind of kill some of the artistic creativity, do you find, or is it or are you finding it like, because you've had a lot of I mean, you're very passionate about cells.
Yeah.
That's very clear. But when you think of it as a business, obviously, like you are, does that take away from that?
I think it's more about avoiding like failure. So like if I'm like, it's like risk mitigation. So if we're like, if I need to make a game that's somewhat financially successful, I'm going to look at like what genres are successful.
So this is a business. You're not making a game because you want to make it. You are actually looking at a genre or
it's both.
Yeah.
I want to make games for a living.
You want to make games for a living, but you are going to sacrifice sort of your ideal vision for what will sell.
I think it's not really. I think it's less about ideal vision. It's more about like getting your vision to match. Like what's a vision? It's more like a dream. Like when if I have my artistic vision, it's kind of my dream for what I want to make as my dream game. I've tried to make dream games before. Like your dream doesn't always match up with like the audience or like what people want. So I think it's fine if you want to make a dream game, but if you like, I probably made like 1 or 2 dream games, and I was happy with them, but they didn't connect with an audience, and I didn't make enough to like continue with it. So when I made the next game, I'm like, okay, well, is there something I can do that would make it more like connect with an audience? So like picking out a genre that is like a lot of people are playing, or that you feel like is going to be on the upward trajectory, like at least in the next 2 years, kind of trying to catch a genre's wave where like a lot of people are like, yeah, we like this game mechanic, let's play it. And then with Cell to Singularity, like it's really kind of a niche topic, but I don't know. I'm really passionate about the topic, so I wanted to
found an audience. We're
trying to make the like in the entire, I don't know, you've heard of in business, you want to have like something that's like the best of its kind. So like, I can't make the best action game. I can't make the best battle royale game, but maybe I could make the best clicker game about the evolution of life on Earth. So I picked something where I feel
very specific, but it's something you're very passionate about too. So it's worked out really well.
And I think we can make a really great game.
You can make the best evolutionary clicker game ever.
That's our goal. Yeah, that's my goal. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Okay. We're trying to make it's like a science theme park. So
awesome. So the last question is, and you may have thrown out some tidbits along the way, but that's a question I ask all of our guests. Is like, what kind of advice would you give? Like, I tweak this every time. Let's say a younger version of yourself, or someone else in the Gumbo community, or me, or Gary, or your wife, or anyone with respect to doing this stuff and trying to be successful at
it. Sure. I think I don't know. Just try to make finished projects or make finished games. So like, I mean, when you finish Burgle's Bounty, like this huge like you completed this entire thing. Like it's a huge achievement. So I think just figuring out ways to complete multiple projects. So whether that's like configuring your life in a way where you can find free time to work on them, or even getting involved in communities that let you collaborate with people, but yeah, making time for it, and yeah, just putting a lot of time into it.
Just finding discipline and throwing time at it. And do you think eventually
trying to finish the projects too? That's the hard part. I have a lot of friends that are kind of stuck right at the end of a few projects, and it's hard to finish.
Yeah.
Does it become a discipline thing, do you think?
Yeah. I think it's discipline. Maybe it's also fear. It's like the fear of, well, Blair, you were saying if you die tomorrow or something, like at least I finished my game or something. Like we only have a limited amount of time here on Earth, so It's great to have the opportunity to be creative and tell a story. So and with modern games, like we have game engines and you can self-publish, so there really are a lot of options. So I really love the opportunity to do that. So I hope more people make games. I also wonder
A
if
lot of
games,
people are now.
yeah, I wonder if they're going to change in like 10 years, like maybe a new genre will pop up. I don't know what it'll look like.
If the medium evolves more, like maybe we will see more VR. I bet you it'll be really meta when we see people making old console games in VR and getting super meta like that, and then it's all become we're all in a simulation, and then the cycle just repeats.
No, I'm waiting for holodeck games. I think that would be great.
We need some we need some Star Trek technology for that.
Yeah, I mean,
I had to insert Star Trek reference for just for you, Blair.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't want to get too sci-fi, but like, yeah, I mean, if they definitely can, like, if you can transmit thoughts or like see things, that'll change games a lot. I don't know. That might be beyond my lifetime, but cool.
I feel like it's closer than we think it is.
Yeah.
Hey, they did it in Demolition Man.
Oh yeah, when they froze people and like, or were you thinking of something else?
Oh, I was thinking about the telepathic sex scene.
Oh, that thing. All right, okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were talking about when they froze people at the beginning and put memories inside their heads, so that those new skills.
yeah, like total.
Oh yeah, that's cool too. Yeah, so Sylvester Stallone could like knit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
awesome.
Wesley Snipes doing all those martial arts.
I didn't know they did that in Demolition Man. I know from like the Matrix.
I have to go back and watch that again. It's an old movie now. I feel like that one's ripe for reboot.
No, they won't do a good job.
No, probably not.
They just leave that movie where it is.
All right, Andrew, that's all we got. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll chat with you later.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, thanks Gary. Thanks Blair. It was a real pleasure.